Hey guys, what's up? It's Samantha, and today I am going to be tier ranking all 240 books that I read in 2020. I have been really looking forward to making some wrap-up and end-of-the-year content for the insane number of books that I read this year, but as I started trying to craft favorites lists or least favorites list or most disappointing lists, it just was so overwhelming, to pick just 10 or 15 books for different things out of all of the titles that I read. So I decided, what if I did a tier ranking? And I have I guess it's only 238 books because two of the books that I read, I reread within the same year. But my tiers, real quick here, are all-time favorites. So these are books that they were 5 stars and they will be all-time favorites for the rest of my life. Like, they changed who I am as a reader. We have Loved It, which are the 5-star books that, they were great books. I loved them, but maybe they're not gonna be all-time favorites. Really liked it. This is kind of usually what I consider a 4-star book. There was nothing wrong with it. I really, really enjoyed it, but it wasn't perfect for me, or it didn't quite hit the top. Liked It is a 3-star, maybe a lower 4, 3-star, somewhere in there. Trash Panda Seal of Approval could be anywhere, any star rating, but these are books that I unapologetically enjoy despite recognizing that they are not necessarily good books, but I love reading them. Then I'm going to have a section here for read for work or education. So these are books that I am not necessarily rating. I read them because I needed to for my job. So in this case, it's a lot of teen nonfiction that I had to read to book talk, or some books that I read for my own personal education, self-improvement, that I feel weird rating because they were just important books. And then I have a nostalgia category. These are books that I read that maybe they didn't quite hold up to how I remember them, but I rated them higher because I bring so much nostalgia to that reading experience, and they were really important to me as a reader. Then would recommend to the right reader. These are books that a lot of times I read for review purposes that they maybe personally didn't work for me, or maybe I thought they were okay. I still liked them, but I didn't love them and I wasn't the right reader, but I will still be recommending them to that right reader at work. The next category is meh. This is kind of my typical 2-star, I didn't really enjoy it. And then bad. These are the 1 stars, the books I hated this year, the books that made me angry, the books that I just did not have a good time with. So I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as humanly possible because I read a lot of books, and otherwise we'll be here for 3 hours. So starting with a strong one here, we have The Alloy of Law, which I believe is the first book in the Second Era Mistborn trilogy, and I really liked it. I, across the board, gave Mistborn Era 2 4 stars. Next we have Eye of the World, which is the first book in the Wheel of Time series. I liked it. It was fine. I don't know if I'm going to continue the series. I would like to at least read 3 or 4 to get a better idea, but I'd have to reread the first one. I tried to jump into the second one a few months later and did not remember enough to keep going. This one is easy. This is probably one of my least favorite Dresden Files books. It has a lot of the male gaze and a lot of internal dialogue about sexually assaulting women that I was not a fan of. Next we have Shadows of Self, which is, I believe, the second book in Mistborn Era 2. I really like that one as well. Deadbeat, which is I had to write all the Dresden Files books down in order because I can't remember all of them. The Deadbeat, I really liked this one. This is the book where Butters is introduced, I believe, and he is one of my favorite characters. I don't like Dresden as a character, but I like all the side characters a lot, which is why I keep reading this. Wrinkle of Time is going in nostalgia. I loved this book as a kid. I did not like it as much as an adult, but that's okay. That's why we have children's literature. It's alright for me not to like it as much. I got out of it what I needed to get out of it when I was a kid. Bands of Mourning is probably my favorite out of the Second Era Mistborn. That ending was insane. I still don't know that I fully understand investiture, but Nimona is you know, a perfect example of why I don't make lists of favorites until the year is completely finished. I read this on December 30th, and it is one of my favorite reads of the entire year. It's a new all-time favorite. I adored Nimona so much. Skin Game, I believe, was my first Turncoat was. Skin Game was like, it's like peak Dresden. Like, this was so much fun. It's a heist. It's real good. Wind in the Door is going under nostalgia. Same thing. Peace Talks, I loved this, but maybe not as much as Skin Game. I had an advanced copy of it. Battleground, all-time favorites or loved it. This book made me cry more than any other book I've ever read. I cried for like 3 days over this book. Like, even after I got done reading it, I was a disaster. I don't know what it was about this book that hit me, but it hit me. You know, we're going to put this in all-time favorites. That might be a controversial. I might change that. 11th Metal. This was a novella that takes place before Mistborn Era 1. I liked it. It was fine. It is what it is. Every Heart a Doorway was a game changer for me this year. I felt like this was a soul book for me. It just was everything that a book could be for me to adore it. Beneath the Sugar Sky is probably my second least favorite out of the Wayward Children books. I liked it. It was fine. I don't like the nonsense worlds as much as I like the more logical worlds, if that makes sense. If you've read them, you know what that means. The Hero of Ages, is this an all-time favorite or loved it? I think Hero of Ages might be up here. Maybe. That's the third one, right? The second one is Well of Ascension. I can never remember like the order of books. I think that might be an all-time favorite. Then Mistborn, The Secret History. I really liked this. This chronologically takes place between book 2 and 3 of Mistborn Era 1, but you shouldn't read it until you've read Mistborn Era 2, book 3, because otherwise it spoils something that you find out at the end of that. So I enjoyed that. Killers of the Flower Moon by David Gran. This is about the Osage murders and how the FBI was formed because of that. And I really like this. I normally don't read nonfiction, but I really enjoyed this one. Priory of the Orange Tree is, I'm going to put it in matte. I gave it 3 stars because there were elements of this that I think were done really well, and I appreciated how well they were done, but it was way too long for me. Not my favorite book. I am glad I read it, but if I know now, if I like knew then what I know now, I would not have read it. It was not worth the amount of time it took me to read that 800-page beast. So, Elantris, I liked it. I did not love it. I probably liked it more than Eye of the World. Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. I really enjoyed this, but you know, I'm just going to stick nonfiction in here because it feels weird like rating nonfiction alongside fiction, so I didn't read that much nonfiction. We're just going to stick nonfiction there. It's my game. I can play by my own rules. Down Among the Sticks and Bones. This is about Jack and Jill. I love Jack. She's my favorite. So this is going in... Loved it. City of Brass. I really liked it. I'm going to put it here below Bands of Mourning. Martha Wells, Murderbot. This is my favorite out of all of the Murderbots. I really liked all of them, but the rest of them all kind of bled together for me. And I mean, you don't really read Murderbot for the plot. You read it so that you're inside its head and hearing its like anxious, depressed thoughts, because that's funny. I'm gonna put this there. I think I liked Mistborn Era 2 more. Duchess Deal was meh for me. I don't really like historical romance with one notable exception. I tried this one. It was fine. Like, I think I gave it 3 stars, but I just kind of like feel ambivalent about it after the fact, and I Just, it wasn't for me. Then this is a short story, a Mistborn short story that follows, I think, Allomancer Jack. I liked it. It was fine. Nothing to write home about. Vow of Thieves. This might be controversial. I love this book. This romance is an all-time favorite of mine, and I'm trash for it, and it's just everything about that romance works for me. Kingdom of Back, I am going to put in would recommend to the right reader instead of meh, because I think that this should have been marketed as middle grade instead of YA. It reads very, very young, but I do think the right reader would really enjoy this. I would recommend this more to someone who likes historical fiction than someone who is interested in fantasy, and it was just really depressing. I'm not the right reader for that kind of book. There's a lot of sickness in it, and I am a huge germaphobe, and it was very upsetting for me to read. It like grossed me out so much. So Patina by Jason Reynolds. I love the track series. It's one of my favorite like middle grade tween recommendations. I really liked it. I'm gonna put it at the bottom there. Just, it's hard for me to like contemporary as much as I like fantasy. Little Fires Everywhere, somewhere between, I think I gave this 4 stars, but I don't know why. My mom's actually from Shaker Heights, so a lot of the references in there, and like I grew up in like the suburbs of Cleveland around that area, and like my family lived there and stuff. So like not my immediate, but my extended family. So I'm very familiar with a lot of the things they talked about, like Laurel and Heinens and all that kind of stuff. And it like resonated with me. Yeah, I'm gonna put it there. Midnight Lie, I'm gonna put it at the bottom of liked it. I was really disappointed. The Winter's Curse trilogy was a surprise fave of mine the year that I read it, and I was just, like, I really loved what was done there, and this just fell flat for me. So, I just didn't like it. It had like more of the fantasy elements. That other one didn't really, the other series didn't have fantasy. I don't know. This is also gonna go down towards the bottom of liked it. It's Lost Book of the White. It's fine. I'm like so sick of Clary and Jace. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. This might be controversial, but I'm putting Jade City at the top of liked it. But while I'm here, so that y'all don't kill me, Jade War was one of my favorite books of the year. I had trouble connecting to the writing and the characters at the beginning of Jade City. I felt like I was being held at arm's length, but that was not a problem anymore in Jade War, and I was able to fall, like by the end of Jade City, I really enjoyed it. I almost DNF'd the beginning of Jade City, but Jade War blew me away. It's one of my favorite books from the entire year. Next up is Sky in the Deep, which is an action adventure YA. I think it's technically fantasy, but there's not really any fantastical elements to it. I really liked this. I was surprised by how much I liked it. I'm gonna actually put this ahead of Patina. Turncoat, this was my first 5-star Dresden book, and this takes a side character who you really don't like for the entire, I don't know, this is like number 10 or 11 or something, and completely turns that character on their head, and I really appreciated what this did. Did I like it more than Murderbot? Probably. We're gonna do that. No, yeah, no, this was a 5-star. What am I doing? I'm gonna put Turncoat, I think, ahead of Peace Talks, because I really appreciated that. Wicked Deep is gonna go in meh. The longer I sit on it, the more, I loved the writing style, but I was not, the more you think about it, the more it falls apart. And we did that for my YA for Adults Book Club, and it just doesn't hold up. So I'm pretty much gonna stick all of the rest of the Murderbots down at the bottom of really liked it. They were all kind of like somewhere between a 3 and a 4-star for me, like all interchangeable. I can't really tell you the difference between any of them. Very, very, very dreadful. I read for work to book talk. Shadows Between Us, I would recommend to the right reader. There were parts of this I really liked, but I feel like this would have been a stronger book if it had just been written as a new adult or an adult romance fantasy, and it had been a little like it, the way it was written, it lent itself to being a steamier book, but because it's YA, we ended up having to fade to black. I don't know. Like, it just wasn't satisfying. The ending wasn't like, you didn't get that, like, I'm gonna say the word climax, like literal and figurative, like you didn't get that on page, and like that's why you read romance. Like it was building up to that, not to a kiss. Like in other YA romance, it's building up to like a kiss, and then you get the kiss, and it's like sweet and soft and wonderful, but like that was not what this book was building up to, and it was just, it fell flat for me. Yeah. Crown of Feathers is a YA fantasy trilogy by Nikki Palpretto that is super underhyped, and I wish more people talked about it. I'm gonna put it above Sky in the Deep. It has a lot of political intrigue and a really cool setting and environment. I never hear anyone talk about these. They're really fun. I think they actually have a lot of adult appeal, but like there's certain YA fantasy that I just don't think has as much universal, I guess that's a universal adult appeal, where I have to know the adult. There's some YA fantasy that I feel like I could just recommend to adult fantasy readers, and that's one of them. Poppy War is, do I like it more than Jade War? I don't know. It's like tied with Jade War. We're gonna put it above Jade War. It's probably my favorite book in the trilogy. I loved Poppy War so much, and it was such an immersive reading experience for me. Picture Us in the Light, I loved. This made me tear up, so we're putting it in loved it. I don't cry very often. I think there's only like 6 books on this list that made me cry or tear up at all, and that was one of them. Wicked Saints is a controversial one. I'm gonna put this at behind Jade City and liked it. It's like a solid 3.75 for me. I see, like, it definitely has flaws, but I like it despite the flaws. And I'm saying this as someone who DNF'd my arc the first time I tried to read it. I've now read it twice, and I enjoyed it even more the second time. We have another interchangeable murder bot. Lightbringer is, I would say I'd recommend it to the right reader. I 2-starred every book in this series, but I read it because I wanted to find out what happened. I think if you like Sarah J. Maas, then you would adore this series. I personally don't jive with Claire Legrand's writing style, but I know that there are certain readers who adore books written like this, and I'm glad that that exists for you. Merciful Crow is an all-time fave. This was a reread, and I loved it just as much. This was one of those books I was afraid to reread because I was afraid that I wouldn't like it as much. I feel like as I've kind of been aging out of liking YA as much, I was afraid I wouldn't love it on reread as much as I did the first time, but I did. I loved it. It's so good. Then we have Bad, Dragonflight. So I know this is controversial. Murphy Napier did a video, like her opinions on this are very similar to mine. I understand that for a lot of people there's nostalgia with this. I don't have nostalgia, and I appreciate what this did that was new at the time, but reading it as a modern reader, I don't like all of the sexual assaults, and it was very hard to read, like the domestic violence and the sexual assault that's sort of like you're basically told to like just deal with it until you get used to it, and then you like, the love story was just so screwed up, and that like left such a terrible taste in my mouth. I will not be reading any more books in that world. So then Spinning Silver, I really liked this. I'm gonna go ahead and put this up here. I had trouble differentiating some of the POVs. There aren't chapter headings that tell you which character, or like where it changes in the middle of chapters. It doesn't tell you which POV you're in, so you have to like guess. If you're listening to the audiobook, the narrator uses slightly different voices, so it's a little easier. I read both physical, I like alternated between the audiobook and the ebook of this, so I had both experiences. It was hard, it was a little disorienting, which is why this wasn't a 5-star for me. Loki, I'm gonna put in would recommend to the right reader. I read this because I wanted to like read a like queer YA Loki like Marvel book. I don't know, I don't like superheroes, but I would definitely recommend this to people who like that. It's a little younger, it's more like historical. I think it takes place in like the late 1800s or early 1900s. I don't know. Foundry Side is a new fave. Did I like it more than Nimona? We're gonna put Foundry Side up there. I loved Foundry Side. I flew through it. Then Next book is Opposite of Innocent by Sonia Sones. This is a YA hard-hitting contemporary novel in verse about being like predatory, like a predatory older man grooming a teenage girl. And it was very heavy, and reading it as an adult, all I wanted to do was bleach my eyes by the end of it. I think if I was a teen, I would have gotten something very different out of that, but as an adult, I just felt so grossed out by it. I felt so icky. Then we have Crown of Coral and Pearl, which is another, I feel like, underestimated YA fantasy series. Duology, I guess. I don't like the second one, which we'll get to eventually, but I've read this twice now, and I really enjoy it. It's like a good time. It has a great sister relationship. It's super fast-paced. I do not like the second book, but the first book is wonderful. While we're at it, let's find the second book if I can see it here. Can I find the cover? Yeah, Kingdom of Sea and Stone. We're going to put it at the bottom of meh. It was a disappointment, and it undid all of the cool things that the first book set up. So, not a fan of how that ended. But the first one was lovely. I just will pretend the second one didn't happen. Dear Justice by Nick Stone is the rare YA contemporary that I love. It was very hard-hitting, very impactful. We read this also for my YA for Adults book club, and pretty much everyone was like, loved it, blown away by it. Dance of Thieves, I really liked this one. Not as good as Vow of Thieves, but I really enjoyed it. In an Absent Dream is Lundy's book, and this destroyed me. This one made me cry. It was really hard to finish because if you've read the first book, you know how Lundy's story ends, and I didn't want that to happen. So I didn't want to finish reading this novella, but it hurt me in all the best ways, so we're gonna put it here. Apparently this is just books, this club is books that make me cry. All the Stars and Teeth, I'm gonna put in meh. I thought it was just pretty average YA fantasy. I read this as an ARC. If I had waited till more early reviews rolled out, I probably would not have read it. I'm both not the right reader for it, and also I just didn't think it was very good. So, sorry. Song Below Water. I'm surprised that I ended up liking this based off of the early reviews I was reading. It seemed like I wouldn't like it, but I ended up, I actually think I liked this more than Eye of the World. I loved the sister relationship in it. Thought the Ren Fair part was weird, but I really liked the sister relationship. Sandman, I'm gonna put here. I gave it 4 stars when I finished reading it, but then I never finished the rest. I had all of the books sitting here at home and I never read them. So did I really like it if I didn't finish like I had no interest in picking up the next one? I don't know. Winter's Promise. I liked this. I did not think the first one was as strong as the second one. So I liked it more than Elantris. I liked it more than, we're gonna put it there, the top of like liked it with Jade City. Both like, 3.5. I really hated The Candle and the Flame. Like, really hated it. I read this at the beginning of the year because I was trying to read all of the Morris Award winner and like Morris and Prince winners and honor books. And it just, there were so many issues with it in terms of like the writing choices. It was not a good book. I don't understand the love that it got. But then conversely, on the flip side, we have Kingdom of Copper, which without fail is my favorite book of the year. There is nothing, I already knew that. Have no idea if I tried to make a top 10, have no idea what 10 through 2 would be. But Kingdom of Copper is the best book that I read this year. It was incredible, and S.A. Chakraborty is just an amazing, fantastic, incredibly talented writer, and it blew me away. It is my favorite book in the series. It's my favorite book I read this year. So yeah. Next we have Lifting as We Climb, which I am putting in red for work. It's a YA nonfiction. Serpent and Dove is going to be the first book that goes in my Trash Panda seal of approval. It is one of my favorite guilty pleasure reads. I am total trash for it, but while we're at it, we're going to put Blood and Honey in bad, bad, bad. I hated this book so much. I'm probably gonna read the third one because I hate myself, but I don't see how this could come back. This should have been a duology. This was like a totally pointless book and nothing happened and it was bad. So there we go. Time of Our Lives was a YA contemporary romance. I'd never read a book by this author duo before, and so I decided to pick it up so I could kind of get a sense for their writing style for recommending it. I liked it. They're good. I would definitely pick up other books by them. It's hard for a YA contemporary romance to get more than 3 stars for me, but that's not a bad book. I still liked it. I'm just not the target audience, but they can still be like fun, you know, lighthearted reads. Next we have Ruthless Gods, which I really, really liked. I'm not gonna lie, this book made me cry at the end. It kind of destroyed me. It's like somewhere, I'm gonna put it, Spinning Silver is like objectively better written, but like, oof, like, that hit me hard at the end. Where Dreams Descend, I'm gonna go with would recommend to the right reader. I was not the right person for this book, but I can totally understand why a certain reader would absolutely eat this up. I am just not the right reader for that type of book, and I shouldn't have. I read it as an ARC. I shouldn't have, so that is on me. The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. This was fine. Like, I liked it. I read it really quickly. Probably liked it more than The Midnight Lie. Probably liked it more than that. Probably liked it more than that. We'll do that. Okay. Game Changers. This is the first book in a male-male hockey romance series, and it was actually not the first book in the series I read, but I really liked this one. We'll stick it over here. Gentleman's Guide to Getting Lucky. This was really sweet and soft. The only other book in this series I read is Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. Probably won't read the other ones, but this little novella was like so sweet. I don't know. We'll stick it at the bottom. I really liked it. Beyond the Shadowed Earth was meh. I read, was it like Echo North or something by the same author a couple years ago and really enjoyed it. So I don't know if my tastes have just changed, if her writing style doesn't vibe with me, or if this one was just not as good as the first one, but I did not enjoy it at all. It wasn't like a 1-star, like objectively bad. I just thought it was really meh. So it was a disappointment and I was bummed. It was another one that I had requested an ARC of because I had liked her other books so much, and then that one just was blah. 3 Things I Know Are True is a contemporary YA novel in verse, and I really liked this. I'm gonna stick it here at the bottom of really liked this. Stars We Steal, I'm gonna put this in. This is like a trashy, fun book. Like, this wasn't the world's best book. I think I gave it like 3 stars. Like, I liked it. It's basically The Bachelor in space. It's super fluffy. It's like kind of dumb, but it was really entertaining and it was a fun read. And I would totally recommend this to teens looking for like that kind of like fluffy, fun book. Especially if someone wants like a futuristic rich people problems book. It was a lot of fun. Like, there was nothing wrong with it. Like, it wasn't the world's best book, but it was fun. And so it's getting the Trash Panda seal of approval. Faithless Hawk is gonna go. This whole duology, like, I'm just gonna be screaming about it for the rest of my life. But I don't think I like this one. I've only read this one once, and I've read Merciful Crow twice. So I'm gonna put this at the bottom of all-time favorites because I think it is, but I won't know until I've reread the series again, which I will probably do every year for the rest of my life because, like, can Merciful Crow be my brand? Can that be my brand? I love Merciful, like, ugh, love it so much. Dragon Republic is going to go at the top, that was like the wrong category. I'm like, that's not loved it. It's gonna go at the top of loved it. It was a 5-star, but the Poppy War was just like chef's kiss. The Bone Charmer is another underrated YA book. Again, similar to Crown of Coral and Pearl, where I really love the first one, and then I think the second one does a disservice to what was set up in the first book. So, you know, but it's a smaller book, doesn't have a lot of like hype or ratings or reviews on Goodreads, but I will be recommending that book for many years to come at the library. So the next book here is Check Please. This is the sequel. This is Sticks and Scones. And I probably like this more than like, we'll do that. It's just like a really sweet, soft, like college hockey romance graphic novel with a lot of baking. So it's adorable. And then we're going to put, so you want to talk about race at the top. Like this was a 5-star book, but it just feels weird to like rank nonfiction with fiction. It was a very important book and I'm really glad I read it. Highly recommend it. And the audiobook is narrated by Bonnie Turpin, who is one of my all-time favorite audiobook narrators. Heated Rivalry is one of my favorite books that I read this year, and it completely changed who I am as like a romance reader. And this was the first book in the series that I read. I didn't realize it was part of a series when I picked it up. I think I might have liked this one more than Foundry Side. I loved this book, so that's all we're gonna say about that. Middle Game is another all-time favorite. I think we're gonna put this above Poppy War, but before Every Heart a Doorway. But it's like new top 10 favorite books of all time. Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. I really liked this. This is one that the more I sat on it, the more I enjoyed it. Kind of reminds me of, like, even though the aesthetics are not at all like this, the plot kind of reminds me of like shonen manga, where you have like the weak like underdog who's like training to like beat the next boss, and then like he beats, you know, the like powerful dude, and then he trains some more to beat the next powerful dude, and there's a lot of training. But I really appreciate what Evan Winter did with this. So this is gonna go we're gonna put this between Bone Charmer and Crown of Coral and Pearl. City We Became, I did not like the first half, but I really liked the second half of this book. And I think part of why I had trouble connecting to it is I'm not very familiar with New York City, and a lot of it relies on you having some base knowledge of New York City. I'm definitely gonna be continuing in the series. I really like where this book ended. I just had trouble getting invested in the first, I think this was about 400 pages, so maybe like the first 200 pages. I liked it, but I didn't love it. I liked it more. We'll put, maybe I did. We'll put it there. Turn of the Key I really liked. This was like a solid 4-star mystery thriller. Put it there. All right, and then Wicked Fox. I really love this book, but we're gonna put it in Trash Panda seal of approval. It is angsty and melodramatic, and nothing about it should work for the type of reader I am, but I unabashedly love the heck out of this series. It is so much fun. If you like super, like, entertaining, dramatic, over the top, that kind of thing, like, just do it. And then The Beautiful, again, Trash Panda seal of approval. Should not like it. Nothing about it is like should work for me, but I've read it twice. I've read Wicked Fox twice. I've read Serpent and Dove twice. I love them, or like really, really like them. So Ash Lords is going to be at the bottom of liked it. I gave it 3 stars. There were like elements of it. It's like kind of a chaotic hot mess, but like also it was fun. So we're gonna put it there. Fellowship of the Ring. I love Fellowship of the Ring. This is gonna go between Skin Game and Turncoat. How about that? There Will Come a Darkness is like a pretty generic, predictable YA fantasy, like multi-POV YA fantasy with like a heist story at its center. But there is a sweet cinnamon roll romance in here that like has my heart, and that is why this is a 4-star read for me. So we are gonna put this, below Dance of Thieves. How about that? I've read that one twice as well. Delicates, I am going to put this at the bottom of Really Liked It. It's the sequel to Sheets by, I think the author's Brianna Thumler, I don't know. Circus Rose is probably the worst. No, Best Laid Plans is the worst book I read this year. We're just going to put that there. Circus Rose, the best review I've read of this on Goodreads is Even the Gays Can't Save Really Bad Books. I had, if you can go read my Goodreads review on this, I hated this book for a multitude of reasons. It just was not well written. I read this as an arc, and like the comps that were given for it made me think I was gonna love it, and then I hated it. I just can't imagine recommending this to anyone. I don't think it was well written. And then The Best Laid Plans is a terrible, horrible book. I like ranted about this. There's a video where I'm talking about it, like when I'm doing my weekly wrap up. It is so problematic. Go read my Goodreads review of that too. Like, it is just a hot mess. So, like, big yikes on that one. Ink in the Blood, I would put this in, I gave this 3 stars, but in retrospect, I think it would probably be more of a 2-star for me personally, but I'm going to put this in, would recommend to the right reader. I don't think this was a bad book. I just don't think I was the right reader for it. And there are certain scenes that have definitely really stuck with me, which says a lot that I have like a very vivid image of certain scenes from this book, because I tend to, like, after it's been a while since I've read a book, and I read this almost a year ago at this point, I tend to just remember like general like tropes and books, like, you know, read-alikes, that kind of thing, so I can recommend it to the right person at work. But I have some very vivid like imagery from this book, but overall, I don't necessarily know how well it worked for me as a reader, but I can see the right reader adoring this. The next book is Sisters of Shadow and Light, which was also a reread. I'm listening to the sequel now, but that'll be in 2021. This is gonna go in Trash Panda Seal of Approval. It's another really angsty, melodramatic book. It kind of is like she's trying to be Laini Taylor, like the way she writes, especially at the beginning, feels a little like Laini Taylor, but she's not Laini Taylor, but it's still like really angsty and like melodramatic and like that kind of like purple prosy, like a little overwritten like angst. I don't know. It is what it is, but I like it. I'm reading the sequel. Like I get like why it's not the best. Like I see that, but I also am just really entertained by it. Space Between Worlds. I really, really liked this one. I'm gonna put this below Spinning Silver. That was like a super fast-paced adult sci-fi. Like it kind of gives me Mad Max vibes. And then we are going to put all of the Heartstopper books. I read them all back to back. We are gonna put them. We're gonna put all of the Heartstopper books. I'm just gonna like, nope, that is not the right one. We're gonna grab Heartstopper number 1. I read them all in one morning. They all kind of blend together in my head, and I loved them. They were great. The Year We Fell from Space by Amy King, A.S. King, but she writes under Amy for middle grade. I'm gonna put this here. This was like a really sweet, it has like a little bit of weird, not as weird as her YA, but still a little bit of weird. Then This Is How You Lose the Time War is now an all-time fave. I think I like this more than Faithless Hawk. It was like beautiful, and I need to reread it like right away. I'm gonna put Empire of Dreams in, even though this was the first nostalgia. This was a new book, but it is returning to a world of my favorite, like one of my all-time favorite YA fantasy series. And it kind of let me down. It was a very different type of book. Like, it wasn't a journey book, which the original Girl of Fire and Thorns trilogy was. I'm gonna put it in nostalgia because it brought me back to that world, but I didn't love this story so much. Silver in the Wood, I liked it. It was like a fun, like fairy tale, folklore inspired, like fantasy novella. I'll stick it there. As the Shadow Rises, I think I rated this 4 stars on Goodreads, but it should really be a 3-star. I just rated it 4-star at the end because, like, the romance that I really like, but thinking back on it, this was a 3-star. We're gonna stick that there. Bringing Down the Duke, this is the only historical romance series that I have ever liked, and I really liked this one. We are gonna put this above Secret History, but before Murderbot. The Night Country is, this was a disappointment. I love the Hazelwood, or I really liked the Hazelwood. And this, like, I liked it, but it was, I'll put it at the bottom of liked it. I probably liked it more than Ashlord's. I think I just didn't expect as much out of Ashlord's, but I was disappointed by The Night Country, if that makes sense. Okay. Field Notes on Love. I liked this. This was a really cute YA contemporary romance. We're gonna put this up over here with Time of Our Lives. The Hobbit. I'm gonna put this at the top of nostalgia. This was such a formative book for me as a child. My dad read it to me like from when I was, 4 or 5, like started reading it to me at bedtime. But I just don't like it as much as I like The Fellowship of the Ring. So, Riot Baby by Tochiyanabuchi. I liked this. This is a super weird novella. I'm gonna put this over here. I didn't love it, but I liked it and I appreciated what it did. Like, not 100% my taste, but I really appreciate, I really appreciate what he did. How many times can I say that? Ordinary Hazards was amazing. This is Nikki Grimes' memoir in verse, and it blew my mind. It was like an emotional gut punch, and it was like beautiful, and like, it was so good. Like, I don't normally read YA nonfiction on my own, but this was beautiful. I highly recommend it. Next we have Winterwood, which, unlike Wicked Deep, I loved. This was a 5-star for me all the way. I'm gonna put that there. Chasing Lucky was a solid YA contemporary romance. I like Jen Bennett. She's one of the few YA contemporary romance authors that I consistently like, that I still find enjoyable to read as an adult. Then we have Get a Life, Chloe Brown, which is an adult romance, and I really liked this. I appreciated seeing a romance book with a character struggling with chronic illness and chronic pain. If you don't know, I have lupus and struggle obviously with that as a chronic illness and chronic pain from that. So I didn't realize how much I needed to see that in a romance book, and that was very impactful to me and very important to me. I'm gonna put this, I don't think I liked it quite as much as Bringing Down the Duke. I didn't like the manufactured conflict at the end. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves in romance. We're gonna put this there. Cinderella is Dead. I'm going to put, I gave it 3 stars, but I'm gonna put this at the top of would recommend to the right reader because I think this is perfect for its intended audience. This is an awesome book to recommend to tweens and young teens. There's not a whole lot in YA right now. A lot of it is kind of being marketed towards the older crowd, the 20-somethings who are reading and buying a lot of YA. But Cinderella is Dead is the perfect book to hand to a 12-year-old, and I have been recommending it like crazy to teens, and they have been like tweens, middle schoolers, and they've been loving it. So I am glad this book exists for that reader. Was it like the perfect book for me as a 31-year-old woman? No, but that's okay. So the next book is Such Fun Age by Kylie Reed. I really like this one a lot. We're gonna put it up here. The writing in Such a Fun Age is just like a breeze to read. It is like just absolutely like fly through it. Then Good Girl, Bad Blood. I loved this so much. It's the sequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which I also loved. This was the first YA for adults book club pick that we did. Those are like tied. I loved both of them. They are up there in like super fun YA mystery books. Like it was so much fun. One Day in December is gonna get a meh from me. I loved the writing, but I hated the romance. I don't think this was a romance. I think I would have liked this more if this had not been marketed as a romance. This is just a book about terrible people doing terrible things to each other for a decade. So I didn't find it romantic in any way, shape, or form, but I loved her writing. So I would definitely check out another book from her. I'm just like a little concerned that she thought any of that was romantic. Next we have Snapdragon, and I loved this. This is a super weird graphic novel about a girl who like partners with like this old woman named Jax, who is like known as a witch, and she does a bunch of stuff with bones, and there's like roadkill and stuff, which sounds really bizarre, but it like was so sweet, and the magic was really cool. I really enjoyed that. Then Go With the Flow was a YA graphic novel about periods and normalizing periods and talking about periods and period inequality, and I really liked this. I'm gonna put this at the bottom there. Like, again, I'm not like the intended audience for this, but still as an adult, like I really liked it. Next we have Black Girl Unlimited, which did make me tear up this year. I'm gonna put this here. I read like the first 30% in the physical book, and then I switched to the audiobook, and the author narrates the book herself, so I highly recommend listening to the audiobook if you like audiobooks. I made it all the way to the end, and then I teared up when the author started tearing up while she was reading her acknowledgments at the end. I cried because the author was crying, and it was beautiful. The next book here is Dark and Deepest Red by Anna Marie Michelmore, and their writing is gorgeous, but I didn't love the story. It just kind of feels samey and predictable, like it didn't do anything wildly new and inventive, but their writing is just gorgeous, so I would totally read more books by them, but just like not my favorite thing, which was a bummer because their writing is just like lyrical, gorgeous, beautiful. We're gonna put this, I think, above 11th Metal though, just for the writing. More Than Anger I read for work. It is a high-low, which means high interest level, low reading level novel in verse that I read to recommend. It got a Kirkus star, which is weird for a high-low book to get a star. But it was like a solid high-low book. And then One of Us Is Next by Karen M. McManus. I liked it, but I didn't. We're gonna like stick it here. It was fine. I didn't like it as much as One of Us Is Lying. Then the next book is Come Tumbling Down, which I loved. We're just going to put it next. We're just going to consider all of those the same. Then Witchy I really liked. I'm going to stick this at the bottom with these other graphic novels here. This has a really cool magic system centered around hair, which I thought was really unique and creative. Then we have Anna K, which I really liked. I know not everyone liked this. This was highly entertaining, and I appreciated what this did so much in terms of the way the writing style would have kind of a similar format to like a translated Russian novel, and then would have totally modern dialogue or, what's the word I'm looking for? Diction choices, like very modern diction, but the sentence structure, and I liked that a lot. I liked it quite a lot. We're gonna put this above Turn of the Key. I had an arc of Anna K, and I really enjoyed it. Cracked Up to Be, I got an arc of the updated edition with a foreword by the author, but this book has been out for a while by Courtney Summers, who wrote Sadie. I loved this. The main character was really unlikable, but I think she was unlikable in a way a lot of teen girls can be, and in ways that I have found, I think that other people have found me to be unlikable at different points in my life. Like, you know how we all go through things, and it just I felt very seen by this book. I understood her even when I didn't like her. We're gonna put this here. But I definitely don't think it's a book for everyone. It's definitely got some unlikable people. House in the Cerulean Sea was a soft, beautiful, wonderful, happy, wonderful time, and everyone's been raving about it, and it's for good reason. It's because this book is amazing. We're gonna put this... I'm gonna do that. We're gonna break up Turncoat and Peace Talks. We have Undeniable, which is the second book in the Cloverleaf Farms series. This one was meh. This is my least favorite one out of the whole series. I did not like this romance at all. And then the next book I have is When You Were Everything by Ashley Woodfolk, and I really enjoyed this book so much. I think I liked it more than Such a Fun Age. It was like a wonderful, wonderful contemporary. It made me like very nostalgic for high school. Then we have How Rory Thorne Destroyed the Multiverse, which I actually read twice this year, and I'm gonna put this, I liked it more the first time than the second time. I definitely noticed some of the flaws in the writing more the second time, but I still really, really liked this. So we're gonna put this here. That seems fair. Then we have Shorefall, which I really liked, but I did not love as much as I loved Foundry Side. Then we have Hand on the Wall, which this series is an all-time fave, so it's going up there. Then we have The Babysitter, which is just like a drabble, smutty novella. So we're putting this in Trash Panda Seal of Approval. There's like not really a plot. Then we have Rent a Boyfriend, which I really, really, really liked. Did I like it more? We're gonna stick that there. I read it all in one sitting on Christmas Eve, which ended up being appropriate because it takes place over the holidays, and I had such a good time with it. Next, I have Forest of Souls, which I did not like the beginning very much, and then I thought the end was okay, but I don't think I'm going to continue on with this series. So I'm going to put it under Ashlords because I do think I'm going to read the sequel to Ashlords, but I don't think I'm going to read the the sequel to Forest of Souls. Then we have The Missing of Claire de Lune, which I loved. I loved that one a lot. I still haven't read the third one. I've heard mixed reviews about it. It's definitely a quirky, weird series, and some of the diction choices, like in translation, are a little odd. But I do think I might wait till the fourth book comes out and then like reread the whole series. We'll see. The Glass Hotel I liked, but I did not love. The writing was beautiful, but it was super depressing, and it wasn't at all what I thought it was going to be. So I probably shouldn't have picked this up, because like if I had known more about what it was going to be, I wouldn't have read it, but I still liked it. I just don't think I was the right reader for this. Then we have The Burning God, which made me cry. I had an arc of this, so I was able to binge read like Poppy War, Dragon Republic, Burning God, all back to back. They were all 5 stars. Poppy War was definitely my favorite, and Burning God was probably my second. We're gonna put Burning God here. But like this series, if I had to just go by series, like Poppy War is in my top 5-10 favorite series of all time. Guy on the Right, I did not like at all. I got sick in February and read like 10 adult romances back to back when I had a super high fever for a week and just felt like utter shit. and I did not like either. I've like blocked out basically everything about that book, except I really hated both of the main characters, and I was not thrilled with it. Then this is a YA graphic novel by Faith Erin Hicks. I'd recommend this to the right reader. It was fine. I just like, it wasn't for me. Then A Map to the Sun. I picked this up specifically for the gorgeous coloring in this graphic novel. It's very psychedelic, trippy colors, as you can tell from the cover. I liked it. It's not the type of story I would normally pick up. It's about basketball, but I loved how it was colored so much. So I'm going to put this here. Sure, we'll do that. Then Bonecryer's Moon is going to get the Trash Panda seal of approval. This book, if I had read this, I listened to the audiobook. I had an arc of it, but never read it. If I had listened to this at any other time, I'm going to tell you I probably would have hated it, but I listened to this right when we went into shutdown and right when I like was getting furloughed and life was a lot, and this was really stupid and really melodramatic and really angsty, and it was what I needed at the time, and I enjoyed it a lot. So, you know, don't judge me. And then we have Stormfront by Jim Butcher, which is the first Dresden Files book, and it's fine. I liked it. I was intrigued enough to continue. They're, especially at the beginning, they're super short, fast books. We're gonna put this here. Insatiable, I really liked this one. I liked the love interest in this one a lot. Where are we gonna put this? We'll put this here. And then Fires of Vengeance. This one I just liked. This is the sequel to Rage of Dragons, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting a little bit tired of the really repetitive fighting montages, and this felt like a lot of the same, just over and over and over and over again. I probably liked it more than Stormfront. We're gonna put this here. Then we have To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. This book was way too long. And all the side characters felt very samey. The audiobook narrator did a good job of differentiating them, but I'm gonna put this here, like in the middle of liked it. I'm glad I read it. I'd probably read more books in this universe that weren't like direct sequels to this. I don't know. Vicious Spirits is also going to go in Trash Panda seal of approval. I liked it just as much as Wicked Fox. This series is so much fun. Punching the Air by Evie Zaboy. And we're going to put this in... This was such a hard, like a impactful novel in verse. So I loved this. I think I liked it more than Dear Justice. I think I liked it more than Cracked Up to Be. We're going to put that there. Chlorine Sky by Mahogany L. Brown. This is an arc. This comes out this month in January 2020. I really like this. This is a debut novel. It's a novel in verse, and it was really well written. I'm going to put this... We're going to put it there. Cool. Then Over the Woodward Wall. This was fine. This is like a fictional book that is talked about in Middle Game, and so she's writing the fictional book series from Middle Game as its own series. It's kind of like The Wizard of Oz. I liked it. It was short. It's kind of like a children's book. Like, honestly, you could hand it to a grade school kid. Like, anyone old enough to read Wizard of Oz could read this, and you don't have to read Middle Game for any of this to make sense. We're gonna put this here. Then Piranesi. This was amazing, but I don't know if it's an all-time favorite. Like, I will always... Is this an all-time favorite? We're just gonna put this here, I think. I think that's the right place for that. And then Once and Future Witches, I loved this so much. So much. I also loved 10,000 Doors of January, which I know a lot of people were meh about, but I really like Alex E. Harrow's writing. Then we have A Song of Wraiths and Ruin, which is proof that YA fantasy romance isn't dead. I loved this. I think I liked it more than Shorefall. Yeah, I think that's the right place to put that. And then Year of the Witching, I think, has to go at the top of really liked it. I was totally set to 5-star this, like, could have been an all-time favorite. The ending was weird, and I didn't entirely, it felt like a little too tidy, if that makes sense. I actually, like, reread the last 2 or 3 chapters 3 times after I got done with it, because I was like, did I really understand what happened there? Like, how does this make sense? So I just really didn't like the ending, but so that's going at the top of really liked it. I will be automatically reading whatever book the author comes out with next. Burning Roses by S.L. Huang. This is an amazing fantasy novella that I had an arc of and then bought the finished copy because I really enjoyed it. And it was a hardback, which a lot of novellas, they come out in paperback, and I hate paperbacks. So I don't think I liked it as much as Such a Funny. We're gonna put this, we're gonna put this there. It was really beautiful. Obsidian Tower, it was fine. I liked it. Like, I'll probably read the other books in the series. It was nothing like wildly new or inventive, but it was a solid, like, mid-list title. We'll put it there, like right in the middle of liked it. It was like pleasantly average. You Should See Me in a Crown. I loved this. This is like the rare YA contemporary romance that I just absolutely adored. Burn by Patrick Ness is gonna go right up here with like these books that were so close to being perfect. I really love Burn, and I feel like I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it this year because of everything that happened, even though Patrick Ness is a bigger author. It's been pretty underhyped this year, and I loved it. It was weird and wacky. There's like cults and Canadians and FBI officers and dragons in like a weird alternate Cold War universe. It's great. Poisoned is I'm gonna put this in would recommend to the right reader. I liked it, but it definitely reads younger. I read Stepsister, which is kind of part of this same series that she's doing of fantasy retellings, but this one read way younger, and it didn't have the same oomph that Stepsister had for me. I just didn't enjoy it as much, but I would highly recommend it to tween and teen readers. Leave the World Behind was weird. So like a really specific thing I found I like in books is lists of food, which I know a lot of people hate. I really like that, which this had like an entire chapter that was basically a grocery list, and I thought that was great. If I'm being honest, I probably liked this more than The Glass Hope. This was like such a weird book. It was like one of those ha 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 WTF books at the end. Probably liked it more than To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. It didn't make me want to like sleep. Horrid. I loved Horrid. This was such a good book. It's weird. It's really weird. Can see why not everyone would love this book, but I loved it. Where do I want to put this? I mean, I bought it, which like is kind of a... Did I like it more than Peace Talks? I think I liked it. We're gonna put it there. Anamorphs, the graphic novel. This made my like inner 9-year-old so happy. I started reading Anamorphs in 1998 when they were like first coming out, and I read all of them over and over and over again. I own most of them. I still have them. They're on my bookshelf. This was wonderful, and I'm so glad that a new generation of kids are gonna get to obsess over Anamorphs the way I did, and the graphic novel did not lean away from the intensity of the violence in these books, and I appreciated that. They are actually like pretty intense and deal a lot with like the morality of the violence they're committing, which I appreciate. I think, I mean, I really... This is like also a nostalgia thing. We're gonna put this at the top of nostalgia. I loved it though, like loved it. Deadly Education, I read an arc of this. I've not read a finished copy. I've heard there've been like some changes that people were not cool with, which like, you know, I think she edited for the ebook. But I read an arc back in the spring. I liked it. It was kind of info dumpy. I think it like set up an interesting world, but it was info dumpy. I liked it more than Elantris. Did I like it? Where do I want to put this? We'll put this there. Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I loved this. I don't think it's a new favorite, but I really loved this. We're gonna put this up at the top of loved it. Undeniable. I think this is the final. Where's the other one? I need to see the cover. And then I think Unforgettable. No, maybe this. This is the sister who gets drunk and like at her PTA Christmas party or something and yells in the microphone about her ex-husband. I think this was my favorite one out of the series. We're gonna put this at the bottom of loved it. And then Watch Over Me. This was a surprise hit. My ebook, my e-audio came in when I was doing that book a day in October, and it was really short, and I listened to it basically in one sitting, and this was really impactful. It wasn't like quite a 5-star for me, but I really enjoyed this a lot. We're gonna put this, like, those are all kind of like similar, not like the themes are not similar. This is going at the bottom of nostalgia. I got my American Girl doll out and dressed her up in that outfit for my birthday and read Happy Birthday Samantha, and it was a thing. Like, oh, I hadn't read an American Girl book in like 20 years, so. Recommended for You was a really solid YA contemporary romance, taking place in an independent bookstore over the holidays, and I really enjoyed it. But like I said, you know, like it didn't do anything wildly new and inventive. I did really appreciate the diversity in it and how like just natural it was. Like it wasn't a big deal that it was a diverse like cast of characters. It just was. Like I deeply appreciated that, but it's really hard for a YA contemporary romance to get more than 3 stars for me, but it was a very solid entry to the YA contemporary canon. I really liked these Violent Delights. I don't think it was perfect, but I really enjoyed the setting. I really enjoyed the characters. I really enjoyed how bloody and gory it was, and that we weren't just told they were morally gray. They actually behaved morally gray, and they killed people. I'm gonna put this up here with Murderbot. I really had a good time, and I could also be saying that because I read this recently, but I really enjoyed these Violent Delights. Next we have Legendborn, which is gonna go up here at the top of really liked it. Like towards the top here. I was pleasantly surprised. I had an arc and I read about a quarter of it and I DNF'd it. And then I heard that there were some pretty significant changes from the arc to the finished copy, where she said that if you only read the arc, you should reread the finished copy because like she changed major plot points and it wouldn't make sense if you read the sequel without having read the finished copy. So I waited till the finished copy came out and then I listened to it on audiobook and I ended up really, really enjoying it. It was like a 4.5. It wasn't a perfect book for me, but I thought the beginning dragged a little still, and I see why I DNF'd where I did. And if I had pushed maybe a chapter or 2 more, I think I would have gotten hooked. But it did take a while, which is why it wasn't a 5-star for me, but the end was amazing. Black Sun is another almost perfect. I'm gonna put this above Bands of Mourning. Not quite a 5-star, but it was a super fast. There's like one point of view that I think wasn't fleshed out very well, but I had such a good time reading this. Super fast paced, really easy to get into. One by One was fine. It's like a very traditional, like Agatha Christie style romance, or not romance, mystery. We're just gonna stick this, like, it's average. Like, this is as average as it gets. This is meh. I don't understand what the point of this book was. Axiom's End was such a disappointment because I love Lindsay Ellis's YouTube videos. And we're gonna stick it there. The Bone Thief, it was fine. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it the way I liked the first book in the series. We're gonna stick it kind of down here. Lobozona, I would recommend to the right reader. I loved the beginning of this. I liked the parts that took place in the real world, but I did not like the magic school setting in this book, and I was sick of the constant telling us, like, the comparisons to Harry Potter. Just felt a little eh. But I would recommend this to the right reader, and I would totally read a different series by this author. I really loved, like, I thought this was going to be, like, a book that I really, really liked based on the first, like, 40% or so. The writing in that was excellent. I just didn't like once we got to the magic school setting. Camelot Betrayal is fine. I just, like, want to know, this is another book I keep reading because, like, I just want to know what the answer is, but they're just, like, average. Just want to know what the mystery is. Midnight Circus was a short story collection by Jane Yolen. I think I gave this, like, 3 stars, 4, I don't know. We're gonna stick this there in the middle. I really like, some of these were, like, 5 stars for me, and some of them I didn't really care about, but that happens with short story collections. 4 Days of You and Me is another, like, solid YA contemporary romance, but, like, nothing wild and crazy, just like a solid, it's a good book, but, like, it doesn't wow me. Just, you know, another book to recommend. Act Your Age, Eve Brown, I really liked this one. Probably, we're gonna put it over here, and that comes out in the next couple months. I can't remember what the exact thing is. This is my least favorite out of the Game Changers series. This one was, like, we're gonna put it there. It was meh for me. I didn't like that one as much. Rage and Ruin gets my Trash Panda seal of approval. I probably like Wicked Fox more, but I love that series. Devil and the Dark Water blew my mind. We're gonna put this up there. Felix Ever After was one of those YA books that I really liked, but it made me want to know where the parents were. So I would say Felix probably, I mean, I really liked the book. I don't know, it's like hard comparing fantasy to contemporary. We'll stick in the middle of really liked it. Heart of Flames is the sequel to Crown of Feathers, and I like this one even more. I'm gonna put it there. And then we're almost done here. Take a Hint, Danny Brown is my favorite out of the whole series. So I'm gonna put this up here in loved it. Like, I loved it. Perfect romance for me. Empire of Gold, I also loved. I'm gonna put this here. Kingdom of Copper is far and away my favorite. Actually, we're gonna put this behind Jack. I love Jack. 8 Perfect Murders was fine. It was fine. It was what it was. It was fine. A Rogue of One's Own. I loved this one. We're gonna stick this up here. It was awesome. 5 stars. Cemetery Boys was, like, it was so sweet. This is, like, up here at the top. It's like, how do I, like, they're all, like, all up on the same level. We're gonna do that. Network effect, another murder bot. We're just gonna put this with all the other murder bots that are interchangeable in my brain. I can't remember the difference between them. Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. It was fine. It was fine. You know, I'm gonna put this at would recommend to the right reader because I think that it has an audience. I don't know that I was that audience. I don't think it was a bad book, but I definitely can see a lot of people not liking it. Inheritance Games, I loved. This was like a perfect book, like a perfect YA mystery book. It kind of gave me Westinghouse vibes, which was awesome. We're gonna put this up here. Then Clap When You Land is like another, this, I had an arc of this, and this was just, this is perfect. Like, there's nothing wrong with this book. Is it an all-time favorite of mine, though? I don't know. We're gonna put it up there. There's, like, nothing wrong with it. Like, I can't say a single bad thing about that book. Well, Matt was fine. Like, I might read the next book in the series, but, like, just gonna stick it here with all the other, like, average romances. How the Multiverse Got Its Revenge, unfortunately, was a meh from me. I was disappointed because of how much I liked the first one. The Black Flamingo, I really, really liked this book. I had an arc of it too, so I read it a while ago, but it was a very impactful novel in verse, and I really appreciated what it did. Kingdom of the Wicked is gonna get the Trash Panda seal of approval. It was fun, lots of food descriptions. Common Goal, this is the newest one in this series, and I really liked it. It is gonna go, I think I liked Game Changer. We're gonna put it just there next to Game Changer. Burn Our Bodies Down was, like, fine. I like her writing, Rory Power's writing, but this time when I read Wilder Girls, I hated the ending, but I liked the rest of the book. This time I loved the ending and was kind of meh about the rest of the book. So this is gonna be average here in the middle. No, that's the wrong category. We're gonna put this, honestly, I probably liked it more than To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. Star Daughter, I'm gonna put this in would recommend to the right reader. I think this is perfect for a younger audience, but I think a lot of adults got bamboozled by the beautiful Charlie Bowater cover. I think it is definitely, it has teen appeal. I think I liked it more than Lobezona. Just not for me. Beach Read is one of my favorite romances I've read this year. We're gonna stick that there. Unforgettable, I really liked. I liked this whole series except for the second one. I didn't like it as much. We'll put it there. In A Holidays by Christina Lauren, I really liked this a lot. It was my first Christina Lauren. I want to read more. But I read this like right before Christmas, and it was perfect. So, like, perfect for that time period. It wasn't a perfect book, but I really liked it. Where do I put this? I'll stick that there. Then Lucy Foley's The Guest List. I know not everyone loves this, but this is as much fun as I can have with a murder mystery. Like, this is as much fun as I'm ever gonna have. Actually, I like Devil in the Dark Water better, but it's a different kind of book. I'm gonna put this there. I don't know. Gilded Ones, I'm gonna also put in would recommend to the right reader. I think that this is, again, perfect for a younger teen reader, but I don't think it has a lot of adult appeal. The cover's gorgeous, and I'm happy this book exists for the right reader. I was not the right reader, but that will not stop me. It wasn't a bad book. I will recommend it to the right reader at work, but not for me. I'll Be the One by Lila Lee was adorable. It was, like, infectiously positive. It was just, it was a good time. It was so much fun. We're gonna put this Like, how do you even at this point? Like, there's so many good books. Like, was it as impactful as Felix? I don't know, but like, it was more fun for me to read than Felix. How do you... I'm gonna put this here between Get a Life, Chloe Brown and Chlorine Sky. The Damned gets Trash Panda seal of approval. Tales from the Hinterland, I actually really loved this. Like, I can see why not everyone would, but I really enjoyed this. I'm gonna put this at the bottom of loved it. Fugitive Telemetry, which is the upcoming Murderbot novella. I had an arc of this. This is actually probably my like second favorite after the first one. It kind of has like a detective murder mystery thing. And then Across the Green Grass Fields is my least favorite out of the, no, not that low. Out of the Wayward Children series, which is also upcoming. I just did not like it. When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain is a new favorite. This blew my pants off. I also had an arc of this, and it is just, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. While we're at it, I read The Empress of Salt and Fortune twice because I read it the first time I listened to it on audiobook, and then was like, as soon as I finished it, I was like, I need to reread this in print. And so I reread it in print. I really liked this one. It wasn't as perfect for me as When the Tiger Came Down the Mountain, but I will auto read everything that she puts out. I have an arc of her upcoming like novel too, so I'm excited to read that. King of Elfheim, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. It redeemed the awful third book in that series for me. Like, now I can like think about that series fondly. Like, it was a good final nod. This I'm going to put at the top of would recommend to the right reader. I don't think Elizabeth Lim is the author for me, and because this is an upcoming book, I don't want to rate or review it and have someone take that as me saying it's a bad book, because I don't think it's a bad book. I think I was the wrong person to read it. I was excited to give her another chance because there were parts of that other book, Spin the Dawn, that I really liked, and then as it went on, I didn't like it so much, her writing was very easy to get into. But it just, I can see it having really strong appeal, again, with a younger teen audience. So I'm glad I read it because now I can recommend it to that audience, but not for me, personally. Princess Floralinda and the 40 Flight Tower was incredible. I'm going to put this above Nimona, by Tamsin Muir. And I had an arc of that, and I'm so glad I did because it was wonderful. It was incredible. And I am so glad that I now have this book in my life. The original I really liked. It was a solid sci-fi novella. I'm gonna stick it down. We're gonna put it here. And then take a look at The 5 and 10 by Connie Willis. This was another novella arc that I read, and I gave this 5 stars, but I'm going to put this at the bottom of 5 stars. It was just like, there was nothing wrong with it. Like, it was just so sweet and happy and like lovely. Deal with the Elf King is, I didn't rate this because like, honestly, this isn't really my taste. I'm going to put this at the bottom of meh. Like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't quite young adult, but it wasn't steamy like new adult. Like, everything was fade to black. So I was like, what was the point of this? Because I thought it was like marketed as new adult. Night Circus is, even though Kingdom of Copper was my favorite new to me book of this year, Night Circus is my favorite book of all time. It's like the 10th time I've read it. My wedding was themed around it when I got married 6 years ago. Changes was a 5-star Dresden read for me. I loved this. Not as much as Skin Game though, but more than Turncoat. Mouse and the Motorcycle is gonna go here for nostalgia. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. This is my all-time favorite children's book. Like picture book. I have the whole thing memorized. I'm like a crazy person. I only put it on here because I read or listened to it every day for like a solid week. It's like my comfort Christmas read. Ghost Story, I felt like this was the Dresden Files equivalent of like the musical episode that every TV show did in like the 90s and the early 2000s. It just didn't like work for me. It like felt weird because like I knew I was going to go back to the regularly scheduled programming in the next book, so like nothing that happened seemed that serious to me. We're just going to stick it there. It was fine. Warbreaker is probably my favorite. Is this my favorite Sanderson? Might be. Yeah, I think I'm going to put it above Hero of Ages. Well of Ascension, we're going to put over here. Agent to the Stars, I've listened to this like 4 times. It's a John Scalzi book. It's narrated by Will Wheaton. It's super fun. I really have enjoyed it every time I've listened to it. We're going to put this there. Okay. And then all these Jim Butcher. I'm going to do Abandon. Abandon was one of the worst books that I've read this year. I cannot believe Meg Cabot wrote that steaming pile of garbage. So I have my list of Dresden Files books here because they all start to feel very similar. Full Moon was my least favorite out of all of the Dresden Files books. I think I liked it less than I liked Abandon. Proven Guilty was... I liked the crime in this one, if that makes sense. We're just gonna they all kind of blend together. White Knight was... like, they really all start to feel the same. Grave Peril was fine. I remember this one. This is like where the plot actually starts to like happen that matters in the rest of the books. I liked it more than Stormfront, I think. What was this? Summer Night. Oh, this one's like, this was fun because this like starts to expand the world. What was the last? Oh. Death Masks, isn't it? Yeah, this had like the creepiest scene between Dresden and Molly. This was like a 4 with a giant asterisk on it. I'm going to stick it at the bottom of 4. Small Favor. I believe this is the one... If this is the one that has the Billy Goat Scruff in it, this has one of my favorite... Might be my favorite fight scene in the whole series. Yeah, in the train station. There's like a really cool fight in a train station. So this is like a 4, but... Put this at the top. I mean, the ending of Deadbeat is really cool. That's like one of my other favorite Dresden moments. And the last one, Blood Rights. This one takes place on the set of an adult film. And somehow they pulled it off. I'm gonna stick this here, I think. I think that's what we're gonna do. All right, so that is everything. All of the books that I read this year, all sorted. That was quite the experience. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite, least favorite books were this year. I am, like, not gonna lie, exhausted. Like, I'm so glad I completed this, but I read a lot, man. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you in my next one. Bye, guys.